Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of The Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva. It's no question, or it's nothing new, that I love meat. Meat is one of my favorite things to eat in the world. All types of meat, too. Beef, chicken, pork, fish, turkey, all types of meat. I'm a big meat guy. Always have been, always will be. As long as I'm, able to consume it at the rates that I want to, or that I can at least. Obviously, if I get I get recommended, hey, maybe cut back on the meat, then I'll cut back on the meat, But until that time comes, I ain't gonna stop, right? I'm not gonna throw in the towel. I'm just gonna keep on trucking with the meat, and of course, add some vegetables and add some starch, protein, or not protein, but carbs, fruits, vegetables, all that good jazz that makes a balanced diet. But I don't think in any time soon I'll be cutting out meat from my diet. Again, unless I'm forced to do it. But for that time being, I just I'll leave it in. I think it's part of a balanced diet, and it's not just what you're taught in school, but I just feel like you add some meat, some carbs, vegetables, fruit throughout the day, it's just you feel better. I feel like because when you eat balanced and when you eat a good solid diet, you just feel better. Now, of course, if you eat too much of one thing, it's a bad thing for you. But if you can balance it out, it's usually a good thing. I bring up meat because I saw that something that was trending on Twitter, and it was just meat. Meat was trending, and I decided to look into why it was trending. It was like people just boycotting meat. What's going on here? Is it something bigger than I think? And apparently, this is weird. This is very strange. But the FDA approved the sale of lab-grown meat in the U.S. It's this company, I believe, that they're called, let me just get it up real quick. It just came out, I literally just saw it. It's a company called, give me 1 second. It's a company called Upside Foods that has begun, or has not begun, but has gotten approved to make lab-grown meat be available to be consumed in the United States. And it's said to be grown by the cells of that animal. Like you just put the cells of, let's say, a chicken into a lab, into some kind of concoction, and out comes the meat of that animal. And I was just like, whoa, that's like some futuristic shit right there. That's almost like some Frankenstein lab type of stuff right there. Wasn't expecting that to be a thing, in the happening today. But I guess we've gotten to the point where now you can make meat in a lab. And at one point, for me, I was like, that's incredible. Because that means that we're able to essentially create tissue, essentially, of a animal. And if you can consume it, then you don't have to kill any animals to consume that meat, which is another big thing that comes to mind. It's like, how are people going to think about that? Are people going to be like, it's great because we don't have to slaughter an animal to consume its meat, for nutrition and for, just food in general? I think that most people will be like, yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool as long as, it's not being cheated. It's not being tampered with, I think. I don't know. It's just like there could be some kind of, funny business going around. If at first it gets approved It's purely meat. There's nothing added to it to make it, worse for you or to make it like, drastically different than what they're claiming it to be, right? Which is bio engineered meat, right? And it's being able to be sold and consumed in the US. As long as they stay pure to what that product is, then I think it's pretty cool. I mean, I'm sure it's got to be expensive as shit, right? If you think about it, like how much would it cost for a lab to biomechanically engineer like a chicken breast? Probably take like a lot of money. It costs a lot of money to do that, wouldn't you think? Instead of like, doing the traditional way to just, farming chickens and then slaughtering them and then, getting their meat and then shipping it out like that. I just feel like nowadays, everybody's, very cautious of how, people consume their food and where their food comes from. People want to, make sure it comes from a very humane place, not like a super manufacturing meat plant. Those have been getting a lot of bad, acquiring a very bad reputation out in the world of food production. That's kind of scared a lot of people away. Not like a ton of people, but definitely more people than that have been consuming meat, scot-free. Now they kind of feel a little bit sorry for the animals and stuff like that. So this is a pretty good alternative, I guess. And maybe even in the future, let's say we go in like maybe 25 years in the future, right? Will this be like the only way that you can consume meat or you could buy meat is if it's genetically created in a lab and no longer being slaughtered, right? What if that's a thing? Question is, if it does end up that way, what's going to happen to all these other companies that do the farming and do the meat packing and the plants and all that? Like, what happens to those guys? Do they just go away, or do they like kind of play ball and do the same thing? And you're going to get so many different types of different companies genetically created biomechanically engineered meat, that could be something that'll be like a new market, like a new type of competition for these companies to stay relevant and these companies to stay alive. Now we have to create, warehouses and factories to create, genetically create, meat that can be consumed. And I feel like it's almost like it's weird because I feel like it's like almost a step closer to creating life itself, if you think about it. Like they're able to make a raw meat, out of cells of that animal. It's just insane if you think about it. Like, how does that even work? Is it just like a bunch of test tubes and you put them in some kind of microwave and then boom, meat comes out? Like, how does that even work? There's a lot of stuff that you hear about, that you read about, that you see, and you read about, it's like, oh, this is this breakthrough in technology where, like this one, they're able to create meat out of the tissue or out of the cells of that, that animal. It's like, well, but how does it, like, walk me through that actual process, and I want to see it visually happen. Or is that just not going to be able to be disclosed because it's, private, I guess, or it's like, it's a process that can't really be filmed. Is that possible? I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking it's just like you put a couple test tubes, mix them around, and put them in a microwave, and then boom, you got meat. That's just my boneheaded, kind of idea of how it might happen. But who knows though? That's kind of where I'm at though. Like, that's how I think it's being created, just by briefly reading like what's been published about this company and all that. That's just kind of like my ballpark thing. But like I was saying, like it's only like a step closer to like really creating life. I mean, I'm pretty sure we've cloned animals. Like, I think we've been able to clone a sheep before. People are saying like we could possibly bring back a woolly mammoth and other extinct animals, so that's another possibility. But you hear about that stuff, and you hear about the possibilities of the scientific like research that's gone into this kind of stuff, and then you're just like, well, where is it? How is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? And how close are we to actually achieving this stuff? Like the woolly mammoth thing, man. I've talked about that before, maybe not on this podcast, or maybe I have. But it's been a while since I've had any updates on that. Any single update on that. It's just, I've had none. And it's just like, man, I wonder if they're going to keep doing that, because that would be really cool if they actually did that. A lot of people don't really think that it would be cool, but then I ask those people, well, what do you think is cool? What do you think that is cool enough for a scientist or a study or funding to go forward on? Like what is something that you want to see in your lifetime that's created by science? Maybe not, because we need it, but something that's like, fun and that could be cool, and something like, yeah, we can make that. Why not? For me, it's a woolly mammoth. Then it would be a dinosaur, and then hopefully anti-gravity machines. I think that would be pretty cool. To see in my lifetime. Probably won't happen, but it's definitely, something that you can kind of dream and hope. But science, if I'm being honest, is not about having fun. It is fun to discover things, but science is like science is like used to improve things and to make things better and easier. Like, if I think about it, we don't really need woolly mammoths. We don't really need dinosaurs. We kind of need anti-gravity. That would make it transportation so much easier. In theory, I guess, unless it's like a super rare power source that's needed, and it's like it costs a fortune to mine or whatever. Then maybe it's not that plausible as I thought it would be. But if we think about it, if we had anti-gravity and we had the ability to install that on cars, and anything, right? There'd be no need for fossil fuels. There'd be no need for oil. It works. And if we had a way to power it that wasn't fossil fuels, there we go. Boom, bada bing, bada boom. That takes care of the fossil fuel business, or not the business, but the stress of the pollution and stuff like that caused by fossil fuel stuff. There we go. And if it's not using electricity either, then there we go, a double win. So that's another big thing. That's something that we think that scientists should be focusing on, is a new form of propulsion or fuel. In Buzz Lightyear, it's called the crystallic fusion. But maybe it's something a little bit more complicated in the real world. It could be something that's maybe not even on this planet, if you think about it. Maybe not even on this planet. Hell, if we can create meat out of the cells of an animal in a lab, there's no, there is nothing that we cannot achieve, if you think about it. Look at the phone that you have in your pocket, on your dashboard, in your car, your desk, your table, your bed, wherever it is. You think we even imagined something like that 200 years ago? Like, even thought of a device like that? 200 years ago, man, we were writing on parchment paper with feathers. We had torches. We had candles. We didn't have electrical switches. We didn't have any of that shit. That wasn't even a thing. It was probably a theory. It was probably like a thought, like a possibility, a futuristic possibility, but it wasn't like a conceivable idea to like go based off of, right? We had no phones. No one thought of a phone back then. Something to pull out of your pocket, to type on and send messages to through the air, through the internet waves. No one had that idea. No one had that any inkling of that even being created. If you think about it, like, even like the shows back in the day that were told in a futuristic setting didn't even have the technology that we have today. The technology that we have today, like Star Trek. There's no texting in Star Trek. There's no social media in Star Trek. There's no internet in Star Trek. The old series, they communicated with just like a walkie-talkie. Like a little walkie-talkie, not even with no touchscreen. It had a button. There was no like internet searching. They had to talk to a computer. It wasn't like what we have today. It blows. What we have today blows Star Trek's technology in terms of communication out of the water. Sure, there's beaming and warp drives and all that, which far surpasses us. But their communication ways is very cumbersome comparing to how we can converse and commute with each other today. I mean, it's not even compared. There's no comparison. It's just better, And it's like, well, who thought of that? Who had that idea for it to be like a communicator? Whose idea was it to put into Star Trek that, hey, the ship's got to go fast, but it's not going to just go fast through stars. That would make no sense. The ship would explode. We're going to create something that engulfs the ship, and it warps gravity around it, and that's how it moves through space, and it's called a warp drive. Like, that's way more thought out and way more, scientifically based than the stupid, like, light speed travel or hyperdrive travel in Star Wars. Like, as far as I can tell, and my little research and watching the movies and shit like that, the light speed travel in Star Wars is just you going fast. That's it. But, I mean, scientifically, that wouldn't work, I think. I think that your ship would just turn to dust, I think, if you went that fast without, like, any type of shielding or, like, whatever. I don't know if it's, like, shielded or whatever, but, like, it makes no sense of how that would work out in Star Wars. Star Trek, I think I've heard, makes a little bit more sense. It could be realistically implemented into real-life travel, which would be pretty sick. But let's be honest, is that even in our lifetime? We can only hope so. I mean, I hope so. But, of course, people want to use science to solve problems that we have today, in today's problems, right? Better internet, better phones, better cars, more fuel efficient cars, or even like electric cars, stuff like that we face day-to-day problems like that. Better medicines, better ways to budget, better diets, better supplements, better stuff like that. We're not looking towards like crazy leaps right now. It's got to progressively get there. You think about it now. We were like kind of, at least like air travel. Has like air travel gotten any better? If you think about it. Have flights gotten faster? Have planes gotten faster? Can you get to one place of the country faster than today than you were able to maybe 30 years ago? Let's just put it at 30 years ago. 30 years ago was 1992. There was planes back then. They've been around for quite a bit. Commercial airlines were a thing. Do you think that you were able to get, let's say, from Los Angeles to New York, which plane could get you there faster? Today or in 1992? I think if you thought about it, the most logical answer would probably be today's plane, right? But is it faster? And if it is, how much faster? That's a question that I want to know. I've heard that it hasn't gotten faster. It's actually kind of like slowed down, is what I've heard, that air travel has slowed down. And I don't know if it's because of the planes themselves or the routes that they take. It could be a combination of the two. I've heard that. I just feel like air travel has not gotten any better in terms of speed. We have ideas to, make cars better, faster, more longer lasting, more fuel efficient, but we haven't really thought of an idea to get from point A to point B faster than we already have right now, if you think about it. Which I think that is something that we need to focus on. In California, they had this high-speed rail idea. Theory was like you're able to go from San Francisco to Los Angeles within like, I think it was like maybe 2 or 3 hours. That was definitely, an idea that most people were against and then some people were for. But if you think about it, it might have been pretty cool if that actually panned out that way. It would have been a faster way to travel. You could commute from, if you lived in San Francisco and you worked in Los Angeles, it'd be much easier to commute. Even faster than a plane, I think it would be. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong on that, but it'd be pretty fast. Maybe not faster than the plane. I'm bullshitting, but definitely much faster than a car, that's for sure. But I think that kind of just died out. No one supported it. No one wanted it because it wasn't being, built quick enough, I guess, or it was just going to take too long, and it's just kind of failed. But those things, those ideas, they had a good direction, but they're not funded properly, and they take too long to build, and it's just like, well, I mean, like, come on, can we just keep driving 75 on the freeway forever? That's what I think, where I think that we need science. We need more science in that aspect, because we've gotten so comfortable just driving on freeways and driving cars and stuff like that, the way that we've been driving. And honestly, it hasn't progressed, if you think about it. Just because the cars can go faster, you can't go anywhere faster, really. There's speed limits. There's, you just can't go that fast. So maybe if we had like something like, I don't know, like a faster road that you're able to just go faster on. I don't know, like the Autobahn or Autobahn or whatever that's in Germany, whatever. The Automall. Autobahn, I think it's what it's called. My apologies. Something like that. Like if that was able to be implemented into all like freeways and highways in like the United States, maybe that'd be cool. But like, I just think that we kind of been coasting at the way we have transportation at for a while now. Like nothing's gotten better in terms of transportation. Like public transportation has not improved. We're just kind of stuck in this lull of cars and trains and buses, and it's just like, where is the science innovation going to? Like, where is it even going? Where are all our big brains going to? Like, all of our geniuses, all of our, nerds out there, where are you guys going to? Like what fields interest you the most? Clearly it's not transportation, and it's not physics. And if it is physics, it's for like weapons and shit. Rockets, stuff like that, stuff that's in space. What about here on Earth? How can we make transportation better on Earth? I dreamt of a day that one day we will see, the cars on the road, in the freeways, on the highways, and then we'll have a top layer, which will be the anti-gravity cars and anti-gravity transportations on like a skyway, like a highway, but in the sky and in the air. We can go faster, and you can afford that type of craft, and you can get from one place to another super fast and more efficient, and no traffic and less emissions and less accidents, and just, higher class of transportation. Like, where is that? When will that come? Like, you had the cars below, and then the hover machines or the anti-gravity crafts above that. And then even, obviously higher than that would be the planes and shit like that, Like, when is that coming into play? That's like the future I want to live in. That's like the future that you see like in like the Jetsons and shit like that, or like in Star Wars and Coruscant. You just got a bunch of like hovercrafts just like, following air traffic. It would be like that, Like, where is that? Why don't we have that yet? I mean, we have like airways for planes, right? They have like this they have this what's it called, like the ways that they can go in the sky. It's not like a plane taking off can't just go whatever way that next destination is straight shot. They have to like go around and make a bank and turn left or right or whatever, and there's just routes that planes have to take. I don't know why, but there is. It's got to be because of like currents or just like airspace and all that shit. That's all got to get mapped out and stuff. Make sure you don't run into other planes. And it's just like, it's so confusing and convoluted. It's like, how did we even think of that in the first place? It had to have been a bad accident. Like, somebody had to have just crashed into another plane, just like, okay, we got to make up a way that planes cannot crash into each other because this is becoming a problem. And I think that, with that innovation, it just made it so like, okay, well, air travel can't be faster because we just have more airways and more routes that an aircraft can take. And, it's crazy. By the way, I haven't been on a plane in a while. And I've stumbled across a couple videos on Instagram. Like, they're like the real videos, like really like harsh takeoffs and shit like that. And like plane like bobbling like so close to the runway and just like kind of like barely touching down to land. And like turbulence landings and takeoffs. And like, I mean, I've never, like I said, I haven't been on a plane in years. And I'm just like, whoa, when did planes like get so like scary? Maybe it's just because they're more videotaped now and shared on social media that you're seeing more of it, and it's always been that way. Like, it's always been that way. I think that could be it. It's just because you're seeing it more, so often now that it happens more than you think. I mean, just to think about it now, like, remember back in the day, back in like 2003, 5, everybody had a shitty camera on their phone. In 2003, 2004, everybody's camera on their phone was just not that good. Yeah, like between like a half a megapixel to like a 3 megapixel camera, right? It's just the cameras were not very good. You could take pictures and not very many photos, or not many videos on that smartphone. And I just remember like it was so difficult to get a clear image of stuff. Like it almost like wasn't encouraged to use your camera phone because it was a nice little leisure thing that you can do to have, photos on your phone, but it wasn't like heavily promoted up until like now. Like now it's like photos on your phone is like, the thing to do. Like they have commercials now that are like short films being shot on iPhone, promoted like shot on iPhone. Like that's just the world that we live in now. Is like the camera on your phone is so pristine now. It like makes like those cameras back in the day obsolete, and not even think that they're proud of making probably. But back then you just didn't have any videos like that being taken, or even a place to put them like that. Like social media also, like the combination of the camera phone and social media is like a match made in heaven. You can videotape or take a picture of something and just post it like that. You can get like go viral and shit. It can get shared. It can get passed around and all that. It's just like the ability to shoot whatever you want on your phone and publish it is just insane nowadays. Back then you couldn't do it. It was like almost like you could, but it was like this looks like shit. Who's gonna want to see this? If you go back in time, and you can actually look this up right now, the first YouTube video of all time, I think is like a dude like next to a giraffe at a zoo, and the picture quality is terrible. Like it's just absolutely atrocious. But like it's like that's what people thought was cool back then, and how you would post a video like that. Now it's just like a bunch of other shit that no one also cares about. Like no one cared about that video either. But at least now the videos look better and more crisp, and actually like something that you kind of want to see. Like the turbulence videos that I was telling you about. Those videos are like crazy to watch and crazy to look at. And it's just like, whoa, like how far we've come in terms of like what is something that we want to see nowadays. It's always like something that's like bang, 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 fast cutting and to the point. Like the videos on Instagram that I see of like people cutting, not cutting, goddammit, people cooking, food, dessert, whatever it may be. If it's like in that short form content, if it's not like on YouTube, it's just like short and to the point, like that, like TikTok cooking videos that I've seen on Instagram. Like people who just make food so fast, it looks so delicious and so good, but every single step that they do is like a super fast cut, and it shows you what you want to see. It doesn't linger too long, and then it moves on to the next step. First, like for an example, if you're making an egg, one shot is you pulling the eggs out. The other shot is putting the eggs on the table. The other shot is getting a bowl. The other shot is cracking one egg. The other shot is pouring the egg into the bowl. The other shot is getting out a fork. The other shot is mixing the egg. You know what I'm talking about? Like, it's just like everything is shot in that video so quick and so to the point that it like hypnotizes you. And it's fast and it's stimulating and it's just like crazy. And even like unboxing videos back in the day, if you think about it, are even better now because they blend like this, like where I've seen it is like this little ASMR combination of like zooming in on the boxes, peeling the seal, cutting it open the tape and all that. Also like stimulating that you get like an ASMR video plus an unboxing video all in one. And it's like a new combination of content where it's fast, to the point, satisfying. It's strange. If you think about it, it's so strange. Like, you never would have thought that something like that, so simple and so, actually stupid and to the point, is so fun to watch. But it is. The guy back in the first video on YouTube thought it was so cool to be next to a giraffe because it was a giraffe. It was a live, beautiful animal that you see only in the safari or in like a zoo, and it's like a massively beautiful creature. And he's like, look at this video, it's amazing because I'm next to a giraffe. But you get this other perspective of like, look at this video of how he unboxes this old console and how he makes it so like he's editing and cutting it to the point where it's like almost like an ASMR video. You have a choice. You either like the real stuff that's nature, or you like the stuff that's heavily produced and to make you like look at something that's so simple as unboxing a console and getting something out of you that you thought, oh, that's even more enjoyable than I thought it would be. If you just do it in person, I have to watch a video that is orchestrated and produced and shot and angled and lighted so well for me to find enjoyment of something that should not be enjoyable, if you think about it. Like a giraffe should be enjoyable. It's a God-created creature that is a beautiful thing to look at. Yet I just want to see this guy unbox a phone in a way that pleases me. It's weird. Our perception of what a good video is has completely shifted from back then to now. It's crazy. If you think about it too much, you might blow a gasket. And you'll be like, well, what is content? What is satisfying to me? Well, that's up to you. You could like the giraffe video. You could like someone unboxing a phone. You could like ASMR. You could like, a breakdown of a video. It doesn't really matter. You could like TikToks. You can like fights. You can like knockouts. You can like airplane takeoffs. You can like Hasbullah. You name it. Whatever you consider as content, that's up to you. It's just now we live in a world where everything can be considered content. I never would have thought that people trying on makeup would have been content, but there's a whole angle on that on YouTube. People trying like phone cases. People giving reviews of food items. People doing mukbangs is also another form of content. They film it in a way that just makes people satisfied. I mean, like, I don't know. It's just like there's content all over the place. And what is considered entertaining to you and how people nowadays create videos has just shifted and changed. Of course, it's depending on what kind of video you want to make, but it's not just that simple anymore, where you can just throw up the camera on and just record and then put it up there. No, you got to make, it's just like, especially like with YouTube now and people's attention spans, algorithms and all that shit, it's way different now. It's like a science now. You have to find the right blend and the right formula to make it a hit. You could get lucky and film something that's out of the ordinary like really out of the ordinary, and just put it up there and try to, hopefully it does well. Other times it's orchestrated and produced well enough that it becomes out of the ordinary and becomes extraordinary. And then you're like, oh, I struck gold here. Like, look at me. I'm cool. I went viral. Look at this. This had 1 million views in like a day or two. And you're like, oh, I won. I won the lottery. That's cool. I don't know. But, people are also so hard to please now. Like I said, people's attention spans are just, so small now. People won't even like just start the video. They'll like skim through it or scrub through it just to get to the good part. And it doesn't help with YouTube when they have like when you scrub, they have like that little bar there and like the little like where it like peaks and valleys of like where people watch the video at and where people like dip out of the video like that. And that doesn't help either. It's all being created to get to the point. We live in a time where you got to get to the point quick. There's no wasting time now. I'm surprised that podcasts actually exist, because it's just like an hour of getting to the point, of getting to what you want to talk about. It's because as much as your podcast, as interesting as your podcast is, it's like, it's so hard to keep people's attention for however long that you have like the podcast for. It's super hard to do that because people's attention spans now, because of short form content, has kind of made it so like, well, I mean, why do I need to waste my time listening to a podcast? Unless you actually care about what that person says or about what that person thinks, or even if you actually care about that person, then maybe you would stick around. But like, if you don't, if you're like a new first time listener or viewer or whatever, that's super tough to get success. I mean, it's just like, it's hard for anybody. It's super hard. I mean, I have, analytics. I can see like where people dip out on. I can see where people tune in and how long they last and all that. It's that's valuable data, and that's there for every creator out there. And it's if you make a podcast, you just kind of have to like go with the flow on that. Hopefully you can talk in the most compelling way possible and retain your guests for as long as you can. Or you have like Joe Rogan, who can get literally anybody on he wants, and just, have meaningful conversations, because the people that he has are so damn interesting. It's crazy. Or you talk about something that's like topical, that's super topical, like sports. Sports, the more I think about it, is like one of the better things that you can talk about as a podcast or anything, any type of entertainment, because for one, it's not like politics or the news where it's like, real life shit. I mean, sports are real life shit, but let's be honest, they're sports. They're for entertainment and entertainment purposes only. So it's like you can kind of like get away with talking shit on like athletes or teams and stuff like that, because it's even though it is their job, it is just a sport. It doesn't really affect, I mean, we hope it doesn't really affect their personal lives all too much, at least. It's a little bit more fun to talk about how this person did not perform well in a game, or rather than, talking about people's lives being lost in like a car accident. It's much more fun to talk about the sport than the actual news, I mean, like, of course, like, sports are going to have some bad days where things actually really badly happen in sports. But for the most part, sports are fun to talk about. And it's like a new story every single day, if you think about it. I mean, this is a good segue. I mean, like Jeff Saturday's, Colts beat the Raiders on last Sunday. I mean, I thought that it would have been like a dumpster fire for the Colts, because just, this guy's never coached a day in his life. I mean, like, professionally football. So, of course, everybody thought that it was going to be like a train wreck, but they ended up winning the game. And now it's like, I mean, if the Raiders lost to an interim head coach that's never coached in the NFL in his life, then there's a story there. Then it's like, well, how bad are the Raiders and how good are the Colts can actually be with Jeff Saturday? Is this just a fluke? Like, what do we do here? It just changes every day. And that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of sports. That's why it's so much fun to talk about, because you actually get to talk shit and put out hot takes and have fun. Like, can you really put out hot takes on politics? Can you really, without being absolutely destroyed and ridiculed and hated? Like, okay, one of my favorite broadcasters and one of my favorite talking heads out there is Skip Bayless. And listen, he has a lot of hot takes. He has had a lot of controversial takes on sports and all that. And the only reason why he can get away with it is because, one, he's Skip Bayless, and number two, it's sports. Like, you can't get away with that kind of stuff, talking politics or anything like that. It's just, we can't do that. We're not. You can't do that. I mean, you can try. You certainly can, but it's like you either become like the most hated person or like the most beloved person, according to whoever is viewing, that thing. And of course that happens with Skip Bayless too. Like, he's hated on, he's loved by, but at the end of the day, he's talking about sports. And I think it's like, a topic where it's like, well, yeah, it's offensive to these fans, but it's just a sport. We have that in our mind that at least it's not like, politics, where he could be like, putting people's, reputation or like, their likeliness in jeopardy because he made like an opinion on like this congressman or that congressman or this Senate member, whatever. It's just like, that's just not gonna. It's just not taken that seriously in sports. It's taken for entertainment and fun, and and he's so good at it that it's like, wow. I mean, like, when he called Kawhi Leonard number 2 after he just quit on the Spurs, I mean, that was like one of my favorite moments of all time by Skip Bayless, because he totally like lost and just gave nothing but disrespect to Kawhi Leonard because of what he did to his Spurs at that time. That he could have called him an asshole, he could have called him a dick, a douchebag, but he decided to think of this, the most creative thing to do, and just call him by his number 2. And he's so smart that he knows that number 2 in sports is like the first loser, and like calling him number 2, he's calling him a loser without calling him a loser. And the way that people saw that and heard that and interpreted that, like, we knew what he was calling him, but he didn't say it flat out. And the fact that he was able to think about that and think of that on the spot and make it resonate, and even I was calling Kawhi Leonard number 2 as well. And like, it was just a genius move, and it's only because Skip Bayless can get away with it because of his credentials and because of how he articulates what he says, and the fact that it's also sports. Like, no, only Skip Bayless could have done that, and he did, and he just cashes in every time, and he's so successful and so polarizing at the same time. But it's like, how can you hate that shit? It's like the best shit of all time. It's so much fun to consume and to watch unfold. Man, when he was on the First Take with Stephen A. Smith, man, that was some of the most prime time morning sports debate TV I've ever seen in my life. I mean, he's really good with Shannon Sharpe right now on Undisputed, but Stephen A. Smith versus Skip Bayless every morning on First Take, oh my God, it was like something that you can never get enough of. And when he went to Fox after leaving ESPN, I was like, damn, man, I'm going to miss this so much, because I watched First Take like every morning. I was like, this is my show. This is my shit. Like, I'm so happy that I discovered these guys, because my, oh my, like, I cannot get enough of these guys. They were like, those guys were like my gateway into the hot take era of sports. And I think that they were for like the gateway to a lot of people out there, that sports hot takes exist because of Stephen A. Smith and because of Skip Bayless, at least for, people like me. And seeing that and just hearing them speak about that, I was like, oh my God, this is just amazing TV. And the way that they debate each other is like, whoa, this is awesome. And like, I just remember, like, that was like when I really, really fell in love with sports and watching sports. It's just like those guys is like opinions and hot takes, and it's just like, off the cuff and just, shooting from the hip. It's like, oh, this is great shit. Like, these guys make sports even better. And it's always just something that I've always really, really loved and really appreciated whenever you can see it, and especially when it's done well. When it's done well, it's just like you can't top it. You just can't top it. Moving on though. I haven't said moving on this entire episode yet. Movie review time. This past weekend, I was able to see Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Finally, after what seems about to be, it came quicker than I thought. I'll tell you that. It came a lot quicker than I thought it would. So let's jump right in. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. The sequel to 2018's Black Panther, starring the late great Chadwick Boseman. That's in the 2018 version. Then this year, starring Letitia Wright as Shuri and T'Challa's sister. How does it compare to Black Panther 2018? Well, I thought that the movie was really, really good. To start off, it's a really good movie. No question about that. The direction is solid. The vision is great. The effects are really good. In fact, I would say that the effects in this one look a lot better than the 2018 version. Because the 2018 version, let's be honest, the final battle in that movie looked very fake. This one didn't look fake at all to me. I thought it looked pretty solid and actually pretty damn good throughout the entire film. Congratulations to that. They've gotten actually better at their CGI. I know I've given them quite a bit of shit because of their shitty CGI in the past few projects, but like this one, I have to say, has gotten a lot better. And I think it's, credit where credit is due, This is good CGI being shown and being displayed. I'm all for that. The story itself, let's break it down. Let's get into this. As much as it is shown in this movie, and this is not a spoiler, but they definitely pay homage to Chadwick Boseman in this movie. From the minute it starts. From the minute the movie starts, they pay homage, they acknowledge Chadwick Boseman's death, and they pay nothing but homage and respects throughout the film that the great Chadwick Boseman lost his life, and in so, his character also loses his life in the movie. Obviously, it's hinted at the trailers that he is gone, he has passed. The movie does a great job at it. Does a great job. It's very heartful. It's very touching. It's actually quite sad at some points. More sad than you think. And it's like, oh man, like this is going to be heavy. It definitely is a heavy movie. This movie is very, very heavy on the emotion, which I was so thrilled to experience because I'll be honest, man. The past couple of MCU properties, the past couple of MCU projects, being Thor, Doctor Strange, even all the TV shows, they've been definitely missing the emotional punch that this one has. For me, like, my opinion, Marvel has really just gone full in on the jokes and full in on the silliness and full in on the, this is a comic book movie and it's not meant to be taken seriously, but it's like, but you made the characters pretty badass in the previous films and you took them seriously back then. Now you're just not even caring. It's like, why though? Like, that's the big question. Why you not seem like you care now? This movie, complete opposite. They completely shifted their tone. They cared about these characters. They cared about the legacy of Chadwick Boseman's Black Panther. And they totally gave an emotional punch in this one. Like full through and through, like just emotional throughout the, the homages to him and stuff that happens in the movie too. It's just like this was totally handled with like, we love Chadwick and we hated that he had to, that he passed. And, this is a story that's being continued after his death. And with that, of course, with the passion, with the, the emotion that happens throughout the movie, the characters also have to deal with it too. They have to deal with his loss. They have to deal with that T'Challa is no longer king. There is no longer a Black Panther at that moment in time. And it's definitely like, shown throughout the world and throughout the characters that this is a big, this affected their entire nation, so drastically that, they kind of feel like they're missing, they're missing something, like there's no king at the moment. and every character is like affected by it differently. And everybody wishes that he was here, and that it would have been different if he was here, but they have to move on. And I thought that the film does a really good job of depicting how they handle that stuff, and how they have to essentially rebound. Forget the not totally forget him, but like just you have to move on. There's no other choice but to move on, and to prosper forward, or prosper forward, or you just go forward. You can't linger on in the past, and that's shown here quite a bit. Through Angela Bassett's character being his mom, and Letitia Wright's character, his sister Shuri. It's shown through and through, and all the performances, just like the emotion, hit hard in this movie. The performances are just like, everybody was like, okay, this is there's a grieving period. This is a sad time. This is not a fun time, really. There can't be jokes in this because it's a sad time. If there were jokes, it would just wouldn't fit right. It just wouldn't fit. So I'm happy that they went with a more, serious tone here, because it needed to be. Two is just like, it wouldn't have made sense if it was jokey. There's not to say that there's no jokes. There's a couple jokes that, in my opinion, don't really land, but there's not that many, so it's not too bad. The villain, Neymar, he's played pretty well. I cannot pronounce the actor's name for the life of me, so I'm not even going to try, but if you can look him up, I mean, this is like his first big gig, I think, because at the end of the movie credits, it said that introducing this guy as Neymar, so it's like, okay, this is cool. He was an interesting character. He was a pretty interesting villain, I thought. And there's a really cool dynamic between his nation and then Wakanda, and how they share similarities and how they're different and what's going on with that. And it's just very cool. His backstory is fleshed out more in this, obviously more because he's introduced, and where he comes from. And so is his people. And it's like more world building. It's like, okay, now we're introducing more nations and more things into the new MCU. We've introduced Wakanda back in phase 2, I think, phase 2 or 3. And now we have Talakan, which is Neymar's nation. And it's like, okay, there we go. We're introducing more stuff. Let's get it, World building continues. And then you're like, how does this all work out between them and Wakanda? Of course, this is a non-spoiler, so I won't get into that, but it's like, it shows the deepness between the two nations, how they share, have similarities and have differences, and it's just like, okay, this is cool. This is cool stuff to see. When the movie started, and for about a good hour, I think I would say, I have to admit, like, I did not know who this movie was about. It shifts a lot between Shuri and Shuri's mom. So I'm thinking, like, for like the good first like hour, it's like, who's this about? Who are we following here? Like, it's called Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, but I feel like the story in like the first like hour isn't really much of a story per se. It's more like just following events after T'Challa dies. And it didn't really feel like a movie at that point. It kind of felt like, just like I said, we're just following events. And I noticed it, and I was like, okay, where are we going with this? Where are we? How does this? What's the story here? And that was one of my biggest fears of this movie. Is, would it be able to carry on, not just for legacy, but as a story? Can it carry on without T'Challa? And for points of the movie, I'm like, I don't think it doesn't really hold its ground all that heavy without T'Challa, because you can kind of tell and you can picture it, and I know it's hard to do, be objective about that and not picture him, but like, you could totally picture T'Challa in this movie, and T'Challa making this movie so much better than what it is. It's just like, you can just see it like through and through. Like, if Black Panther, T'Challa, Chadwick Boseman was in this movie, it would be so much better. You know, it would be so much more emotional, and it would be so much more impactful, I think, if T'Challa was in it. And the events in this movie happening with T'Challa, ooh, you know, that probably would have been more of a hit. Obviously, of course, Chadwick Boseman passed, so that can't be done. But you know, I just felt like it would have been more impactful if it had T'Challa in it. I think that the movie also kind of suffers because Letitia Wright's character, it's not like she was poorly written and poorly. I mean, she's not a bad character, but I feel like in the movies prior, Black Panther and so on, she was like not really developed all that much, really. So it starts off pretty Shuri heavy, and it still is a pretty Shuri heavy movie, but again, it doesn't feel like that she's like the main star of the movie at times, and that's kind of hard to view, especially knowing that this movie's like a superhero movie. It's like, okay, who's our superhero? At times, it just feels like she's just like another side character. And that could be because like they wrote her that way in this movie, but like also because like she didn't really do much in the other one, so there's not really much built up on her. So like this movie needs to build up on her. So at times it feels like it's like another origin story, yet also a sequel to what happened in the past. So it's kind of messy in that way. It's like muddled in like a way like it's trying to build up Shuri, but also world build a lot, and like it becomes like this weird blend of like, we're not getting enough of the lead here, we're not getting enough of the hero of this story, and like who is the hero and who is we supposed to follow here. Like for the moment, like, there was like a moment in this movie where it's like, okay, this might be the Queen's movie and not even Shuri. I know it's called Black Panther Wakanda Forever, but it's like, is this about the Queen? Like if it is, cool, but like where's Black Panther fit in this, you know? So I guess like what I'm trying to say is that I had high hopes for it to really be a banger in the terms of story and all that, and it kind of wasn't as great as I thought it was. In terms of story and character, I mean, events were pretty badass. Don't get me wrong, the events and the fight scenes and all that were really, really cool. But I felt like in terms of like the story and the character and who we're trying to follow here, kind of messy, a little bit underwhelming in that department. No real hero vibes until the end, which I get it. You know, it's like, you know, the big bang, the big finish, cool. But no real lead character in the movie for like shit. I mean, like a good hour, I think, a good hour and a hour 20 minutes. Like who's this movie even about? You know, it's kind of hard to pick out because it's just like the movie's got to again build up on that sequel. World build and then build up Shuri. I feel like it was a little too much in the movie for it to be, you know, really build up Shuri enough for her to be like a, you know, this is going to be the new Black Panther, you know? I just, you know, I don't know. I mean, you know, I thought it's a good movie. It's a really good movie. There's just some things missing in it that could have made it great, I think. A little too much world building, like I said, and not enough really honing in on Shuri, like kind of just like jumping around. A little too much jumping around when in terms of like the story and the character of Shuri. And not a whole lot of like just one-on-one with Shuri and her becoming like, you know, the hero of the movie. You know, a lot of it's just like, where are we going? Where's this? Again, a lot of it is just events. That's what it felt like to me. A lot of it is just like events after Black Panther's death and not a whole lot of story, which, like I said, I was fearful that would happen. And I was like, okay, it's not going to happen. This trailer looks amazing. How could it be bad? It wasn't bad. It definitely wasn't bad, but it definitely could have been better than I thought. I'll say that. It definitely missed Chadwick Boseman quite a bit. So I think I'm gonna give Black Panther an 8 out of 10 on my review. Black Panther 1 is definitely better. It's got a more centric story that you can follow, a more centric, rootable character, I think, in T'Challa over Shuri. But I think that's just because they had so much in this movie to build up and world build that Shuri just kind of got lost within the story up until the end, where she was really badass. But up until that point, it's like you almost could have been like Shuri's just like another side character, and she's not. She's the main character, but doesn't feel like it is. So that's my review of Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, everybody. That's going to be it for this episode, everybody. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. If you want to catch this podcast, you can find it on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and on YouTube at Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva. This drops every Thursday. Leave a rate, review, like, comment, subscribe, share, do all that fun stuff. Do all that stuff. Tell your friends. My social media links are in the descriptions of every podcast. If you want to, get in touch or, have a suggestion on a topic, whatever you want, shoot me a DM on that stuff. Those are always open for you. Anyways, everybody, thank you for listening and thank you for watching. And I will see you guys next week.